Hi there, and after the livestream we for sure know that the next characters to come out in 1.1 update are Silverwolf and Locha and their banners respectively, and lots of you, especially free-to-plays, might now start thinking on what banner should I summon for, and in this video we're gonna try to break down the 3 banners which you might potentially summon for in the nearest future. The first one is Genuine's banner, which we currently have in the game, and I know that lots of you were skipping this banner just to see what we are gonna have in the nearest future as confirmed information and then decide if you want to summon for him. The next 2 characters, as we already mentioned, will be the Phase 1 Silverwolf of 1.1 and of course Locha's banner as Phase 2 of 1.1. So first of all, let's discuss these units themselves, then we will discuss their rate of 4-star characters and then try to make some conclusions and decide what banner should you summon for, especially if you're free to play. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. So first of all, let's give some overall info about those 3 characters. The first one is Genuine. This is a Lightning Erudition character, which is really good at dealing lots of AoE damage to the enemies, and since he just has lots of damage, he can also act as a single target character, but keep in mind that since he is an Erudition path unit, he can't compete directly with Hunt path characters in terms of single target damage. For example, in comparison with Sealy, his single target damage is not that big. But what makes him one of the best and maybe the best current Erudition character is the fact that he doesn't have any additional conditions to actually deal damage. He doesn't have to break the enemies, he doesn't have to get enemies to below 50% of HP or apply some debuffs. He just deals lots of damage himself, and also with his Lightning Lord, the only condition, you don't have to let enemies apply crowd control debuffs on Genuine, just because, for example, if your Genuine is stunned, then Lightning Lord will also not take his actions, though any other Erudition or any other DPS character overall in the game won't be that effective under, for example, stun 2, so that's not big deal. He's a really good character due to his simplicity and one of the best current DPS characters. Now we have Silverwolf, which is an Agility Quantum character which acts as sub-DPS or supportive debuffer in your team, and her main things are, first of all, she is a Quantum character, which is still a bit rare element among all the characters we currently have in the game, and the second one is her main selling point, because she is currently the only unit which can apply additional weaknesses of your teammates to the enemies, which means you can use only one team for everything, destroy any boss no matter what weaknesses boss had by default. But keep in mind that even though it might become the strongest mechanic in the game and the strongest debuff in the game, just in theory some future bosses might get immunity for this debuff or just have a really high resistance to this effect, so it will be really hard or maybe even impossible to apply any additional weaknesses except the default ones. And the last 5-star character we are discussing here is Locha, which is imaginary abundance character, and if you're talking about both abundance and imaginary, those are really rare things in the game. We only have 2 abundance characters currently in the game, and of course, as with any other role, healing characters are necessary for every team, and if we are talking about Memory of Chaos, you have to use 2 teams, that's why having another healing character is important. And if you're talking about imaginary, the situation is even worse, because we currently have only Weld as imaginary character, and of course he is a 5-star, so it's hard to get him. And if you're talking about main selling points of Locha among other abundance characters, because to some extent he is a really exceptional abundance character. First of all, he not only provides just a conventional healing with his skill, he also can provide the field which lets your allies heal by themselves depending on Locha's attack number, and also he can remove debuffs while healing the allies, and the most important one, he has a damage dealing ultimate which can remove buffs from the enemies, which is really rare thing to do for abundance characters. And overall he has lots of specific utility, and of course still has healing, which though is a bit conditional due to his specificness. Now let's discuss the cons which every of those characters already has, starting from Genuine again, and his main problem is the fact that even though for now he's the only 5-star Lightning DPS character, he already has a competition with 4-star Serval and 4-star Alan, and in future he is about to get a competitor in face of Kafka, which is a Nihility character, but she also performs as DPS unit in your team, so Genuine is definitely not irreplaceable unit overall in the game. Now let's discuss cons of Silverwolf, and we already mentioned a possible thing to happen which is not like this for now. If all the future bosses get immunity or high resistance to her debuff, she might become not that relevant, but again we can't predict this. Thing which we can talk for sure about is the fact that if you have a DPS character of a proper element against the enemy with this exact weakness, then you don't really need Silverwolf that much, because her main purpose is exactly to apply additional weaknesses. And if, for example, you have two DPS characters which cover all the activities you need, then Nihility characters like Welt or Pela might become even more interesting for you than Silverwolf. But again, this is only in the situations when you have DPS characters which cover all the activities in the game. And the main problem of Loucha is the fact that actually two Abundance characters on one account cover almost any activity we currently have in the game. Of course, you might not have Bailu currently, but if you randomly get Bailu from regular banner, or for example lose 50-50, or don't forget that we might get future Abundance characters, then the second when you get 3 Abundance characters on one account, one of those will become redundant. Of course, we already discussed that Loucha is like a combination of utility and healing character, but if you're talking about free-to-plays, and this video is mostly focused on free-to-play players, then you don't really need to have more than 2 healing characters, even though some of those might provide more healing or more utility. So you just have to keep in mind that on top of the fact that this is a really good utility character, main selling point of Loucha is the fact that he's an Abundance, and you might just get Abundance characters in future. Now when we discussed 5-star characters themselves, let's discuss 4 stars on rate up for every banner, starting from Genuine again. And here we without a doubt can say that there are 3 best 4-star characters we have out of these 3 selections. All 3 of these characters are good for both scenarios of getting first copy and Eidolons, maybe except March 7, but you still want to have her Eidolons, especially as free-to-play player. But as compensation we have Shusheng and Tinyun, which are both 4-star characters, but these exact 2 4-star characters you can't get for free as some other 4-star characters, so getting them as first copy or as Eidolon dupes is both really good. That's why definitely this is the best banner in terms of 4 stars out of those 3. Now if we are talking about Silverwolf's 4-star characters on banner, here is a slight problem. All 3 of these characters are obtainable in a free-to-play way just by playing the game. It might be a bit sad. On the other hand, all 3 characters have a really good Eidolons, especially Asta and Serval. That's why, again, we can say that this is like an option which can easily compete with the first one, but it's still not the worst 4 stars to have on rate up. And now when we get to Loucha's 4-star characters, it might be the most arguable thing, because on the one hand we have a brand new Harmony imaginary character which lots of people are hyped about. Of course I'm talking about Yukong, and again, like at first this will be the only way how you can get this character, but in future we hypothetically can get her in more banners, or even maybe we will be able to obtain her just by playing the game free-to-play way. And about 2 other characters, on the one hand both of them have perfect Eidolons. On the other hand, we have Chinche's 1 copy from just playing the game, and we had Pela on rate up from Sealy's banner. So if you're free to play, you anyway don't want to focus on getting every 4-star character to E6, and at this point this might be not that good option for you. Again, it's really hard to judge now when we don't know how easy to obtain will Yukong be, but maybe, at least to my opinion, this might be the worst out of these 3 4-star rate ups. And now let's make some conclusions and decide what banner should you summon on depending on your situation, starting from Genuine's banner. I think this banner might be really good only for those people who for some reason don't have any other DPS characters at all in their account, or maybe they have some but they really love Genuine, then they might summon for this character, but again, knowing and keeping in mind that they might then have problems with Abundance or supportive characters like Nihility or Harmony. On the other hand, this character has the best 4-star banner out of 3 which we are discussing in this video. And also, if you don't want to get Genuine but you really want those 4-star characters, I think if you are maybe 70 pulls away from your guaranteed 5-star character and you are in the state of 50-50, so there is no guarantee that that you will get genuine, then you might just summon for this banner until you get Tinyun and Shusheng, since these characters are really good for your box, especially if you're free to play, and it might be really hard to get them in future since there won't be a rate up for them, at least in 1.1. Now let's get to Silverwolf, and I think it's much easier with her. First of all, this character gives you unique ability to apply additional weaknesses to the enemy, and why this is important especially for free to plays, because then you can summon for whatever DPS character you want, no matter what the element is. You only need one 5-star DPS character, and then depending on what 4-star characters you have as supportive units, you can always build against any enemy in the game a team where you will just apply the weakness of your main DPS character's element to the enemy or to the boss and deal with this boss easily. I think this might be a really good option for those who are free to play, who can practically summon on every other banner. Then they only need to have Silverwolf and again one DPS character, whatever character they want actually. And also I think Silverwolf is the best option out of these 3 banners for those people who are certain to summon for Kafka in future. First of all, because you don't really need genuine at this point, you will have a DPS character in face of Kafka with the same element. Secondly, you always can apply a lightning weakness to your enemy, so at this point you can use your Kafka DPS team against every boss, no matter what elemental weaknesses they have. And also exactly in this banner you have Serval as Rita 4-star character, and most likely you will use Serval in combination with your Kafka, so you can use 2 lightning DOT characters. Of course, that's why you need Eidolons for Serval. Again, that's why for those exact people who maybe play this game or maybe even exist only for Kafka, this might be just the best option for now. And now we get to Locha, where things really become complicated. First of all, I want to talk about people who are free to play and they already have Bailu, or maybe they even invested into Bailu. At this point, I think there is no sense in summoning for Locha. It's much better to decide between Genuine or Silverwolf, just because getting 3rd Abundance character on your account won't increase the strength and flexibility of your account that much. Of course, Locha is much more interesting, he has much more utility than Bailu, but overall, like if you're free to play especially, the main demand from Abundance character is healing. That's why maybe Locha will be at this point a skip for you. You can just maybe save up for some future characters or summon again for Silverwolf or Genuine. But if you don't have 2 Abundance characters at this point, or maybe you don't even have, for example, Jeopard, then Locha might be a really good option, because at the same time he covers an Abundance section entirely. You don't have to summon for any other Abundance characters, you already have 2 on your account. And at the same time, in this banner you even have 2 imaginary characters, and both of those characters are really good in breaking the weakness of the enemies, especially for Abundance and Harmony unit. That's why, to some extent, if you again don't have Bailu on your account, this might be just a good banner, like summon and forget completely about Abundance and Imaginary, maybe even to the rest of the game, because you already just covered this section of the game. If you just want to make sure to get Yukon, same situation as with Genuine. If you are far away from your guaranteed 5-star, if you're on 50-50, you can just summon on this banner to get some multiple copies of Yukon and other 4-star characters. But again, be aware, same as with Genuine, you might just randomly get a 5-star character and maybe ruin for yourself some other 5-star characters you're planning to summon for. But again, that's only my recommendations, you don't have to stick to them. I just tried to analyze those 3 banners from efficiency perspective, but you decide by yourself. Maybe you really love, for example, Locha, even though you already have Bailu, or maybe you have lots of other DPS characters, but you so much love Genuine that you anyway will summon for him. But that's all actually for now. Thanks for your attention. I really appreciate your likes, your comments, and your subscriptions, and see you soon.